just showing where I'm up to with this. Sorry about the framing in the last video. This should look a little bit better. Got my soldering iron here. These fellows, which I purchased with my own money, they're not sponsored or anything. Especially these modern versions of this slidey business here to adjust the clamping force. There are Knipex or Knipex 1262 180 are just amazing. They strip all sorts of stuff. I've even successfully stripped Teflon coated wire with them. I wore a pair out, bought another pair. Wonderful. So I've got, first thing I did was got some stuff off the web, Amiga guides, that was a Google site one, and a second one from the flatnet.de, which is good in that it shows drawings of the actual connectors, makes it unambiguous about whether you're looking at the back of the connector or the front of the connector. Very valuable, very grateful for that. Anyway, this one here though was the same. It was showing here it seems to match up with this, so that was good. And I just got my multimeter with a really thin tip that could go into these holes and toned this out so that I know, for example, that green on here goes to the pin for fire 1 and so on. Then I've got the joystick here, and as you can see I've cut off the USB controller. We will put that into a project box in another video. And I've stripped all the wires off and tinned them and fitted each of these wires with a little piece of heat shrink. And so, well, let's do one. If I push the joystick forward towards the buttons, this of course goes back that way and actuates this micro switch. So this grey wire here is forward, and looking at my diagram here, I know that forward or up is red. So I need to join. I know you can buy little vices and stuff for doing this, but with a bit of practice it's not that hard, although, you know, pride before the fall. And am I in frame? Yeah, sorry about the framing in the last video, that was terrible. We'll just lay these side by side. Yeah, it's not going great for me, is it? Oh wow. We'll lay these side by side somehow. The ground wire, so to make something work, the switch connects, the switch in the joystick connects. Yeah, I'm at the limits of my thing here. I'm working in front of an Amiga and it's all a little bit how you do them. The ground wire, and this tip's too big, the ground wire does a loop you do around here and picks up all of them, and then to make a movement you need to, it seems, connect a wire to ground. I'm using lead-free solder because I tend to when I can. And well, it's pretty awful to be honest, but it seems mechanically sound. The thing to do is to go back with your soldering iron in an attempt to improve it and desolder the entire thing and make a giant mess. Horrible plastic solder nightmare. Yeah, I've got enough heat in it. I don't know what you can see now, possibly the top of my head, but I'm busy. There we go. Of course, the hotter it gets, the PVC insulation melts back away from the job. I like to make sure there are no sharp edges on there, and then drag the heat shrink over. And the heat shrink does two things. It's an insulator, but it also supports the joint. And actually this piece is barely long enough. I don't know about your heat gun. Yeah, I might trim them a bit shorter in future. What you really want is for the heat shrink to support the insulation on either side to stop it trying to wobble at the solder joint. But that's got the insulation on both sides. Maybe I can show that under the camera. Oh man, won't focus. There you go. So that's the job now, is to follow this guide and match these all up to colours that they don't look like they belong with, and I'll be done. I think what I'll do, I think I mentioned before, is I won't connect this button to anything because I tend to play like, or maybe it's like that. I don't know, maybe I'll just connect them both. Uh-oh. Well, that's not great. Don't know how to get that back. Wonder where it went. You can see a little tactile button there. Why was that able to get away? Oh, I see why. The switch mech in the bottom was able to move. I wonder if there's some... One moment. Yeah, I don't see any particular support for those buttons in the bottom of the case. I wonder where it goes. I've really lost it. That's a real drama. It seems to be in that space there. I may even have to actually pull this circlip off here, pull the stick out to get that. I don't know where that's gone. That's really frustrating. Anyway, as you can see, oh, now I've shaken the heat shrink off one of these wires, the orange one. It's always the way. Guaranteed I'll have to redo one of these solder joints because I didn't have the heat shrink in place when I joined the wires together. But as you can see, this is the job in front of us, and it's pretty straightforward. I'd love to know where that... Oh, I see it. I wonder if there's a joint in the plastic there. No. Or a hole. Like, I wonder why they don't do that as a general proposition. I don't know how they're supported. It may just be that I pushed on it too hard, but I don't think so. And I have no idea fascinating. Oh, I see where it's gone. It's dropped down. Yeah, I think, oh, I wonder, well, while we've got the camera running, maybe I can undo that screw on that micro switch in that corner and see what's underneath it. We didn't get there before. Might be interesting. Nothing. Mooned. So that's not the way in. It'd be funny if there was no way in. Not funny ha-ha, but funny like, you know, prawns that got left in the sun and they've gone funny. Yeah, I'm a bit unhappy about that. But, you know, if I didn't want disasters, I'd leave the bloody joystick alone, right? No, we're not even close to screwing that in. Oh, there we go. No. It's remarkably difficult to get back together. I'd have said that it'd just go straight back in there almost naturally, but it really doesn't. Oh, there we go. Oh, I see. There's a screw on this. There's a screw on one side and a locating pin on the other. Yeah, I can see it. It's definitely got to come apart. Which will be a giant headache. Look, let's do it on camera. Someone else has this problem. This will be a reference of either how to do it or how not to do it. Now, circlips, this ring clip thing, they go into a slot and they retain things, and they're spring loaded around the shaft, and you can get them with little holes in the ends that you use circlip pliers to grab onto them and remove them. But you can also get circlips like this one which don't have those features on them. And they're difficult. And this one is tight. Really, really, really tight. In fact, it's extremely tight. But I think it's the only way to get to that button. And I don't know why that button's coming out like it is, but it appears that there's nothing that could be holding it in place other than glue. Yeah, this hasn't gone great at all. That's my soldering iron beeping saying it's going to sleep. Though I've done a video on soldering irons, that's woken it back up. Not that I needed it to be. I've done a video on soldering irons where I sort of had a look at various sleep mode things. Oh, we've got it. I just sort of pushed on the corner. Oh wow. Oh, the whole lot's coming out now. Right. Well, that's not great. Wow, look at the size of that steel spring in there. And there's my button. No wonder I couldn't wiggle it back in. It's gone and gotten itself tangled up in that spring. Maybe I can have a look at what secures that button while I'm here. Geez, I hope the framing's okay. This is not great. Oh, they've got a fair bit of movement in them. There's like a little plastic clip that holds them on. This doesn't want to go back into place. But it came off, so I can go on. I suspect it's all just because it's all spring loaded. But I've got to be real careful I don't pinch a wire. Easy to do. Very easy to do, I would say. This video is only supposed to be really short. Uh-oh. Oh, those buttons have come out if it's... They're not great. They weren't on the original Competition Pros. And I'm pretty sure I can turn this off and review the video, but I'm pretty sure I've got the stack up right because I didn't actually remove anything. Yeah, I do have the stack up right. And that's spring loaded there, right? And so that's what the circlip's for, right? This goes down past the circlip groove. Oh, my poor finger. And then the circlip goes on. I'll just grab this with my long nose pliers. Maybe I should replace it with one with actual circlip holes in. I do have a beautiful packet of circlips there somewhere. Metric and imperial shaft, or well, imperial groove sizings. Yep, so push that on. check the buttons are right, and push this down at the great expense of the skin of my thumb, and then so there we go. That's got the circlip back, but it's not on the shaft. But getting them on is fairly easy usually, because there we go. Anyway, oh, and I've broken that wire off. Oh, it's alright, I've broken it off the switch. That'll be easy to fix. Just snot it back on. Actually, that was my red, which is up, which is the switch at the back, and you can see the black wire running. Maybe you can't. So the black wire running through there, it does a big loop through all the switches, and so this is snapped off up here. Oh, I can show you these strippers. I'll chuck them back in the drawer. Yeah, I've got a tool trolley. They're over here. I've got a tool trolley that has my commonly used tools in it that I can wheel around wherever I'm working. So I'm going to assume this is lead free, because I don't know, I might say ROHS in it somewhere, but you shouldn't mix solder types. So, oh, for goodness sake, we'll tin that. Yeah, lead free is harder. It's hotter. It's blah blah blah. We'll just remelt that onto there. Yeah, that's done that. So there we are. Now I'm back where where I said I was earlier on, where I'm just hooking all these up according to my plan, and then I'll see if I can find a slide switch that matches and glue it in, and find a spot in there to stash a square wave module, which I'll have to be careful. I've got modules. I've got a box of modules. They're very handy things. They all sorts, you know, like what's this fellow, for example? Here's an Ethernet module for an Arduino that didn't fit in the side of my 500 plus. That's a power supply module, a high current number. This will convert some fairly serious voltages down to something, whatever I need. Dual rail power supply module. It's somewhere in here. Yeah, often I'll write on them what they are. 60 volts in, 10 amps out, but somewhere in here our lithium ion charging modules. They just sort of build up. Get a project, and oftentimes the cost of a module locally is prohibitive, and the cost of a module online is mostly postage, and so getting a couple of spares is a really good plan. Yeah, this is one. I set a few of them at 50 Hertz in the hope I could use them as a tick for an Amiga power supply, but they drifted an awful lot. But this little fellow with a trim pipe is a square wave module. But of course I've got to be careful. I need to make sure that the module simply pulls the pulls the button low to ground just like pressing it does. Actually, you know what? If I have a scratch around in my box of Amiga bits, I might even find the ones I set to 50 Hertz, which could be slow enough for the purposes of a rapid fire circuit. And I'll just tie it into the main buttons or one of the little buttons. So I've got regular fire plus rapid fire, or maybe I'll just make it so that when you turn the switch on the back, the joystick just rapid fires. That's probably the best, actually. That's probably most useful. And then you don't have to hold the button down. Just flick a switch and the whole thing rapid fires. Yeah, I'll do that. But I'll assemble it this way first and get it running and use it, and then I'll go to the trouble of sorting out rapid fire some other day. Oh, I've got a blob of solder on my U-bits. Oh, I don't like that. I tend to be careful if it's like lead-based solder. If I find solder, I sort of go, oh. So I've got into the habit of, this from an abundance of caution, I've got in the habit of working clean and not leaving solder on things, because I won't know if it was on there from lead-based or lead-free soldering. Anyway, any remaining sort of questions about how this was going to go down or how I was going to do it should be answered, and we've seen how this comes apart, which, yeah, bonus content.